I now managed to beat Magicraft every time that I started, and after 120 hours, the knowledge is there. But we are always learning though. If I missed on something, tell me in the comment down below. Be sure to smash like on the video if you enjoyed this, and ladies and gentlemen, we are jumping it in the tier list. Let's go. Starting with the Magic Bullet. Simple and underrated spell to use in the early game. You can easily make the first world with it. It can be matched with pretty much everything in the game except radius, but you can't do nothing too crazy with it because it really lacks on damage. At 2 stars, the maximum base damage that you can have with this spell is 16, which is really bad. So it will go into the mid tier because it is really mid, and it's the beginning spells, guys. The Rock and Ball has really good damage and has a big 30% chance to crit, and highlighting the early game. But later on, if you don't put that on a leg wire, it is too slow. It falls into pits, and as soon as you got scattered to your wand, it's impossible to aim. So as a spell himself, I'd say it's alright, just because there's better guys, trust. The Butterfly is up next, and surprisingly enough, the Butterflies is really good against bosses. But it can't travel lasers, it can't travel fire, and you struggle against enemies who produce butterflies. They can't be aimed at something, and like the Rock and Ball, it absolutely need a leg wire late game if you want to use it, because it is too slow. And the Rock does actually more damage than the Butterfly, so I'll put the Butterfly in mid. There's way better. The Laser is super powerful with cooldown. Actually, if you put this thing with Mana Drain, it is a super huge combo because both of them require cooldown, which actually they require the cooldown. But as soon as you goddamn, this spell goes in the A tier because it is shredding. So as soon as you get Laser, you get Mana Drain, you get cooldown and mana, it's done. The leg wire is not used for damage, but in comparison, this is like the add trigger in Noita. As soon as this spell fades right here, everything that is after it will be casted. Very good with anything that got bad travel points, like for example, the Thunderstorm or the Arcane Explosion, because it got range, it is fast. Guys, this spell goes into the A tier for sure. The Ghostfire is also very strong, but it requires a leg wire to be good in the late game because early game, it doesn't have range. At least it multiplies, which is really good, but it does less damage than the Rock. But the Rock uses more mana than the Fire, so I guess I'll just put this spell in the B+ tier. But I really think between the Rock and the Ghostfire, it is really by preference. The Black Hole is extremely good. It drags every enemy in the middle of it, but not every enemy. Like the bosses, no, but like every single minions, it goes inside of it. It adds cooldown to your wand, I know, but it is absolutely worth it. It has range, it can move on itself, it has good DPS, it can destroy crates compared to the Thunderstorms. Put a Thunder Core with a multi-shot and a power traction into this, and it's absolutely devastating. And it's one of the only spells that is good under orbit as well. This spell will go into the A+ tier. The Arcane Explosion really requires the leg wire or the magic robe to be played. I really played a lot with this spell, and honestly, it needs damage, it needs radius, and the mana cost on this thing is just not worth the damage. The worst damaging static spell in my opinion. So it will go into the mid tier, but honestly, I think this spell should make a dome that projectiles can't go through. And you put more timer on it, you put the pause on it, and it makes actually a dome that you can't go in and you feel safe in there. That's just an idea I'm putting out there. It would definitely grind it up in the list. The Mana Drain has, surprisingly, 40% crit, and it is absolutely unbelievable if you got a one that has good cooldown. It is very rare, but if you have it, you don't even need to build on mana anymore, since every time you hit an enemy with it, you recover mana. And compared to the Laser, it doesn't need necessarily the Laser to be good. It only needs cooldown. So I will put this spell with the Black Hole into the A+ tier. The Ghost Snake is absolutely unbelievable with the tracking and the frozen crystal. You should definitely try it out. One of the best combo for sure, guys. I beat the final boss with a single tracker and a snake and a couple of enhancements, but the snake didn't have any star in it. It's absolutely fantastic with the tracker. But if you don't have the tracker, it is really slow and it requires a whole lot of enhancements to make it good. But with the tracker, it's absolutely unbelievable. So I will put this spell into the A tier. The Disruption Ray is really powerful, but because of its knockback, it's a big problem. You can fall into pits, you can touch enemies without intentions, and trust me guys when I say this, but when you go at the final boss with this spell, you will really struggle because of the purple area. It is almost uncontrollable. If you don't stack this ray right here, it will lack a whole lot in the late game. Though if you find this spell early, you will see how much potential it has, but later on, if you don't stack it up and make it bigger stars, you will lack a whole lot. The flaws will outcome the damage. Plus, you can't cancel it at any time. It's channeled, so, you know, the knockback doesn't stop. Plus, you are slow. Guys, I will put this spell into the B tier personally. But I can totally see someone at the final boss with this thing shredding him. But I just don't want to risk my life because of the knockback with this thing. So B tier for me. B plus tier is the tier. The booby trap hits super hard and has a huge 50% chance to crit with a big AoE, so you can't attack a lot of enemies at the same time. But it does indiscriminate damage, which means that you can hurt yourself. It makes this spell super risky to use. You can't even attack enemies that are close range to you, and sometimes you don't even have a choice. Same thing with the meteor, but the meteor is even worse. Less damage, it takes time after cast, it has AoE as well, so you have more chances to hurt yourself. Unless you have the knight helmet, I don't want to die again by this. I want to place these two spells in the B category, just because I understand why some people absolutely love these spells. They do incredible amount of damage. It's just, I'd rather have incredible amount of damage on something that can't hurt me. So this is why I'm putting it in alright. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the rainbow is up next. And oh boy, this spell may be my favorite spell, I'm not gonna lie. It has good damage, it has good crit rates, and almost every enhancement in the game can be with that thing. Except Orbit, because Orbit is just, it's just trash. It has good scale, it has good range, it has a good damage when stacked, it is super fast, it is a common so you can have it often, almost no mana cost, it doesn't need the damage enhancements. S tier. S tier, I never lost a rainbow game. It is absolutely broken. Oh, wait, accuracy? It doesn't have good accuracy? Just put the enhancement accuracy. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. For me, this spell is my favorite. This is why I put it in the S God tier. The Arcane Nova really depends on your build, but it usually really is good. If you have the mana and navigation, go for it. Or else you will encounter some mana problems with this thing and aiming problems as well. So this thing combined with the rainbow, it's S+++ tier, guys. But I'll be legit and I'll put it in the A+ tier because it has high potential damage. And this is not just good with the rainbow. It can go with almost everything. The lightning dash by himself, it's not really good because you don't control yourself. As in, when you start channeling, you don't even know where you will end up. And sometimes you may end up inside a pit. But with the tracking, this thing is unbelievable. The damage of this thing becomes now controllable and you become invincible. You can easily make the first stage and the second stage with a tracker and a lightning dash with no stars. Super devastating and super easy to do. This goes definitely into the A tier. The Adava, that thing hit hard. Plus, it has a scaling kind of aspect to it where if you kill, I think it's 120 enemies, it levels up because it does indiscriminate damage, and you guys know my opinion on indiscriminate damage. I will put this spell into the B+ tier, but tell me in the comment down below, guys, what you think about this spell. Is it actually good after the scale? Because I have no idea. Some people may like the Thunderstorm because it had good radius and it can kill a lot of enemies at the same time. But I feel like the sword and the black hole are just doing so much a better job at it. Plus, the Thunderstorm can't even destroy crates. It follows your cursor really slowly when you have the tracker on it. Don't get me wrong, this is really good to clear rooms. But as soon as it comes to bosses, you need so many of those. Like, you will lack on mana a whole lot and you can't even see the ground. So if there's toxic on the ground, if there's something to slow you down on the ground, you won't even see it. And after a whole lot of tests with this spell, guys, I decided that I was putting this spell into the alright. Because it is alright. The Watergun is, in my opinion, the second best spell in the game. So S tier. The Watergun stacked on DPS is absolutely devastating for bosses. It doesn't even bounces on the Shulker's helmet. And with the accelerator, this thing goes far. Get crit, get the Frozen Crystal, and get the Thunder Core, and it's absolute GG. S tier. The Enchanting Coin is a really special spell that you get after defeating the Vine enemy. It is only good with the Gold Miner's Pickaxe though, because you are always spending on money in a normal run. But if you have the Gold Miner's Glove and the Gold Miner's Pickaxe, go for it. And by the way, quick tip, shoot every single one of your coins on the ground, take a duplication potion, and you will duplicate every single one of these coins that you just dropped. You're welcome. This goes into the A+ tier. The Spellbreaker is technically the strongest spell in the game because it can protect you from the troll boss at the end. He cannot throw you his projectiles and you are basically invincible while this phase. He is technically beatable, but you need like one crazy wand and hours to absolutely beat that boss, and there's no animations at the end. So I'll put this spell into the S+ tier because it can technically finish the game. But early game, you may not like it, but in general, it's a pretty damn good spell overall. If you put radius on this thing, it upgrades his damage and you make a super mega long sword. I recommend the Energy Saver to play with the sword because it requires a lot of mana. And you don't need that much enhancements except for radius for it to be good. And last but not least, the Summoners. The Summoners, in my opinion, are not really good in the primary wand, but if you have the Guardian wand, which is a spell that makes it that your wand will flow with you and will attack for you, then it's really good. All four of them really serve for good purposes. Let's start with the pop. Actually, the pop is really good early game and shreds early bosses, but later on it's getting one shot, and if you don't have enhancement for this thing, it's just there for no reason. So I will put this thing in alright because it's actually alright. The Tentacle though, with the power traction and the Thunder Core, hits like a truck late game. But for it to be good, you need a lot of mana because there needs to be a whole lot of them on the terrain. I have seen some crazy ones with the Tentacle, and it is not okay. It can help you defeat the troll boss at the end, which you use the sword and you use the Tentacle to attack to do more damage, and they can actually protect you from the projectiles of the troll boss. So this spell goes into the A+ tier. Spider is not really, I'd say it's not that good, but you know, it sucks out life out of enemies and it is pretty damn tanky. It doesn't do crazy damage. It can be a dome that you go under him and it helps you around. But honestly, it goes into the B+ tier because it's better than the pop, but it's not that good. And the self-aware Grimoire. The self-aware Grimoire, I don't know how to freaking say that, but the Grimoire can multiply himself if you put another Grimoire in it. And beside the cooldown it takes, imagine how many bullets you can throw out of this thing if you can stack it up. The book is technically 3 times you, but it's throwing not the way that you want to shoot. It's up to you if you like it or not. I don't play with it often, but I do totally recognize that it is good. So I will put it into the gaming tier. And last but not least, the Pillar. Absolute trash. The most useless spell in the game. It doesn't attack. It only synergizes with the chain lightning and the birth chords. But even there, it doesn't do crazy damage. So I don't want to say this, but this thing is absolute trash. Guys, there it is. This reflects my experience after 120 hours into Magicraft. And there is for sure way more to learn. But as of for now, after beating every single game, I have like 100% win rate. This is what I end up with. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Make sure that you leave a like and subscribe for more in the future. And as always, guys, I'm gonna see y'all into the next one. It's been your boy Hazy. Catching you guys later. Peace out.